Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio. Discover your spiritual gifts live.
Welcome to Discover Your Spiritual Gifts Live, show number 34. We're your hosts, Dave,
Jason,
and Vialet.
Our guest today is Danielle Golie. Danielle is passionate about helping spiritually driven women to experience life satisfaction. She supports moving them out of confusion and back into a place of clarity, balance, and purpose. As a professional empathic intuitive, spiritual mentor, and CEO of HiVibe Healing, Danielle has 20 years of experience mentoring women to embody their personal unique gifts and healing past influences so they may live more purposefully. As the director of public health, she began to feel dissatisfied within her career and had the desire to live more on purpose with her passions and gifts. She began her journey of self-discovery and working with mentors who helped her remember and align with her authentic self. Danielle believes when women express themselves authentically, we all benefit. She knows that each woman is here to have more impact, and that getting clear on their heart's desires is the path to living a deeply fulfilling and passionate life, a life of soul fulfillment. Welcome, Danielle. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit more about your background.
Well,
How did you get here?
Well, I'm a nurse by trade, and I started in the medical field and was kind of realizing that I didn't want to be on the end of supporting people in crisis mode all the time and always that revolving door, get them support and then set them out the door, and there's no community support or way of really making those long-lasting changes. And so I went into public health thinking that I want to be on more of the community, larger base prevention of wellness. And that's when I really became passionate about women and children and supporting women in really owning who they are. I led a team of 13 professional women, and it was just really unique to be able to mentor them in finding their unique purpose, their unique gifts, and helping them align with it, particularly in our department. We were responsible for the health and well-being of our full county, and so running different prevention programs. And so it was really, that's when I started to understand that fulfillment, life fulfillment, is when you're actually in a place of service and using your unique gifts and talents in a way that supports the betterment of others and or of a collective. And at that time, I was there for 10 years, and I was really passionate about getting a home visiting program for high-risk pregnant women so that they could really be the best mom that they could be, that they wanted to be. And that's when I got that in place and implemented, Spirit just was starting to say, okay, I think you fulfilled your purpose in this fashion as a healer, as a mentor, and it's time for something else. And so I just had this long journey of, what is that for me? Why? What is next? I lived in Montana in a small rural community, and I thought, well, maybe it's higher education, and that just felt like fingernails on chalkboards, honestly. I was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I was actually in Missoula, Montana for a work conference, and a colleague of mine stepped in for literally, you know, how you synchronicities meet someone and they're like, you need to go to this garden of Buddhas outside of Arley, Montana. And I was like, okay. And then she was gone. I was like, all right. So I went. It was a late summer evening, and I drove up there. The skies, you know, if you've ever been to Montana, it's called Big Sky Country for a reason. And the sun was just starting to set with all the beautiful hues of oranges and reds and yellows. And I've always been spiritual, but this evening something just allowed me to just step deeper into that spirituality. And I walked around the Garden of Buddhas, quietly asking for Spirit to show me the signs and bring me my teachers.
Is this one that has the big circle? There's one up there that has like 200 or 300 statues
correct.
in a great big ring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's literally out in the middle of a prairie. And so, I just walked around quietly and did, like I said, I asked for them to bring me the signs and bring me my teachers. And literally 2 days later, my first spiritual teacher entered my life. And 4 days later, I was guided to make the location change to here to Denver. And that was to study traditional Chinese medicine. So we sold our house, picked up our family, and we moved here without knowing what this journey was going to lead us, thinking that I was going to turn into like a traditional practitioner of acupuncture. 3 months into my studies, Spirit was like, well, you're here. You're learning theory of Chinese medicine, energy, but guess what? You're not going to be a traditional practitioner. And that was a really tough pill to swallow.
What was that, the school on East Colfax?
Yes.
Yes, I went there for 2 terms.
Yeah. So
did you have Dr. Gao?
I did have Dr. Gao. Yes.
Yes.
Small world.
Small world.
It is. And so I was like kind of resistant to the message that Spirit was giving me that I wasn't going to finish school because I just literally picked up my whole family, left my career behind, and moved to a city. So I continued with school, even though Spirit was like, you can continue, but it's not going to be where you head. And so I just kept cultivating and working with mentors and went through my own dark night of the soul, why I was in the middle of school, and understanding who I am as a soul and what are my unique gifts. That's when Spirit was really starting to open up my empathic intuitives, my energy sensitivities, my channeling, and so I just kept listening and working with mentors and getting clarity of what does this look like. And I'm, of course, still on that path. It will always be a part of my journey of always ever discovering more and more about myself. But that led me to creating a HiVibe healing and offering intuitive readings. And then that's transitioned into mentoring and coaching with my program called Passport to Purpose. And I do women's circles, but that's really where it's just following and listening to the guidance and having the courage. I remember when I told my staff I was leaving, one of them said, well, wow, that's brave. And at the time I was like, it doesn't feel brave. It seems like that's what you do. You know, when you get the message, you go. Mm-hmm. And I do say that was the easiest part of the whole journey, was walking away from my career and moving here. And that, from that time, which has been about almost 5 years, has probably been the most challenging but the most fulfilling journey I've ever been on.
Mm-hmm. That's a big move, to move your whole family, to pick them all up and relocate them somewhere and to follow your heart. What would you tell people that are listening, that are being led somewhere, that have fears or, you know, what am I doing? Because I've had friends tell me, what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, Spirit tells me to do this. And what happens when you get there and it's not what you think it is?
Well, a lot of times it ends up not being what you think it is. But I found that Spirit gives us enough information, enough foresight to go for it, but not enough that if we knew the whole journey, because I always tell people, I would have laid down in the fetal position and said, I'm not doing that.
Run away screaming, yeah.
But with that said, if you truly want to live a life of joy and purpose, then you have to. You just have to do it. And have the courage and find people that support you. And even if it's one person, just saying, you got this.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. If we knew the whole picture, if we knew what was ahead of us, how many of us would have taken the journey? I mean, realistically,
Absolutely.
If we'd have known the hills, the bumps, the obstacles, how hard it was going to be, how many of us would have really stepped in to move forward? We would have stayed in that safe zone, which we see people every day in that safe zone that choose to stay there.
Absolutely.
Because it's safe, it's easy. doesn't take a lot. It takes a lot for us to trust and step off. And I think if I'd have known where my journey was going to take, I'm not sure I would have went.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why when I work with clients, I always say, this isn't going to be easy, but I'll guarantee you it's going to be fulfilling. Mm-hmm. Anything that's worth having takes effort. It takes stepping out of our comfort zone. But I'm a true believer that we're not meant to do it alone. You need to have a tribe, whatever that looks like for each individual, having a tribe of people that are all on a similar journey, that we can all support each other. I mean, we're meant to be in tribe. So when you're ready, find your tribe.
It really is true. I mean, I think the world has shifted where we have families and people that live all over the place from us. But I think that we were really meant to stay close to each other and be close and have community and tribe. And there's something about us that needs that socialization,
Absolutely.
that support that we're hungry for. At least I know for me. Now the younger generation that's coming up that are very isolated, I don't know about them. I think they're missing something without having that. But
Absolutely.
I think that's a lesson for all of us that we're going to see play out as well, right?
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think, Dave?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about that is, when I first became aware of the young people on their cell phones texting to somebody sitting 3 feet away,
Right.
instead of just turning their head and making their mouth move, that really puzzled me and frankly kind of annoyed me. But I've taken a bigger picture view of that now. I actually think texting is training for us to become telepathic. And because texts force you to be focused on one topic.
Absolutely.
And that works best with telepathy, is that you focus on one thing. You don't send somebody a shopping list. And so I see that as sort of being maybe a training tool for our movement forward. And it's just kind of disguised well.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it, but I think you're right. It's finding that fine balance, right?
Yes.
Because again, we're all so isolated. That was part of my journey that my spirit guides had me do, is I had to come to a city with millions of people from a small community where I had community. I had lots of support and friends and family. I had to move to a city with millions of people to find myself, because I absolutely was isolated and lonely. So we can use isolation and loneliness as a way of finding who we are. I don't necessarily always encourage that, but that disconnection that we're seeing is also just something for us to really look at. And it's like that universal law of the swinging of energy, right? We've gone so far this way that we're so disconnected, and now it's just helping us remember we need to come back more this way. We need to have short interactions with people, but we need to have deep, intimate connections with some people.
Well, I kind of see it as a pendulum. I think everybody absolutely, especially when you're in the hustle bustle of a city like this, you need to have some alone time. But the flip side is you can have too much alone time. And when I hear about monks who live in a monastery who are essentially permanently on retreat, it's like, wait a second, you're doing all the spiritual development. The world needs your energy.
Absolutely.
You need to be interacting with the world. To go hide and be cloistered, to me is also an aberration of, it's reverse. You have too much people time, you have too little people time.
Absolutely. It's all about balance. Yeah. I'm a Libra, so I'm the scales.
Ah, right.
I'm all about, but there isn't true balance where you always are staying here. Balance is an ebb and flow. It's just knowing where you fit in that whole equation.
Well, and you're talking about being a small community. A small community gives you that support, but it also gives you the usual list of suspects, too. And it can be stagnating and difficult to grow when you're around the same people and
Absolutely.
You become incestuous with the same set of beliefs and views and practices. And so when you come to a place like Denver and you really mix it up, and there's 57 different viewpoints on, what energy is, what healing is,
Absolutely.
what readings are, all this type of stuff. It helps you to identify, but also to grow and to be challenged. And you can look at some crazy new guy comes along, Swami B, and, he says, well, this is the way you ought to read people. And you say, oh, that repels me. And then you think about it and say, no, I'm being challenged. I got to find out what it is and really determine if this is a good path or if this is something that's, goes into kooky box.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you an opportunity to,
That's a
find what
scientific term,
resonates.
Jason.
I've received a gift today. I now have my very own kooky box.
What are you going to do with that?
Fill it with people I know.
Yes.
Probably start there. I'll need a kooky closet before long.
Yeah, and both for readers and clients.
Absolutely.
The kooky box. It's like if you got a spiritual penalty.
Yeah.
You're in the kooky box for 2 minutes.
Yellow card, red card.
Absolutely.
That could be really, really interesting, right? Well, and I think with relationships, as we evolve and spiritually grow, those relationships shift on who's in our lives, how deep, how connected we are to people. I tell people when they step on this path that those are going to change, and they don't always understand what that looks like. And it's scary to them when their relationships start shifting that they have been supported by for all of their lives.
Absolutely.
To now go, hey, I went to lunch with such and such, and I really didn't have anything to talk about, right? And that's kind of the natural progression of, and I'm like you, I think we need community, we need tribe, we need to have that to keep us balanced. If you isolate yourself, it's really hard, and I think community is really important. It's the reason I built the center, was to have a community to work with and to have, because I think it's so important. I've been isolated too, and what we end up doing is we step away a little bit of who we are when we're isolated.
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely time for, retreat and going into hermit mode, but you're right, if we're in there too long, we almost can lose perspective of reality somewhat, right? I know I can, because I love to be in the spirit realm. I mean, I'd spend all my time there if I could, but I know that's not going to serve me in the long run. Or, as you said, like with the monks, it's not serving the collective, knowing that we chose to come here to discover our gifts, but then to use them as service. And I love that you've created this community of healers, service providers, because as a healer, and we can feel isolated. We can feel crazy, even. I mean, when you're first trying to figure out what all this is. So having a community here like this is just, it brings so much joy to my heart. As you can tell, I'm starting to get emotional.
Well, even no matter how long you've been on your path, every once in a while we need to be reminded of what we already know, because we forget,
Absolutely.
we get distracted, we get pulled in. And it's nice to have a community that reminds you. Well, what are you thinking? What are you saying? You create, or something's said, and you go home and think about it and go, wow, that message really was for me. I needed to hear that because I've forgotten, or I've gotten off path, or I've went in a different direction. I think it's really important. So it helps on that, just to have the support of every once in a while being reminding of what you've already know. And community helps us do that.
Oh, community's huge. I mean, I'm a strong proponent for tribe and community. Probably why I went into public health, to support the community. We're all in this together. One of my favorite quotes is, "A rising tide lifts all ships." We're not meant to do it alone. We're meant to do it with others.
So as your gifts opened up, what was that like? Because they didn't open up, it sounds like, until you moved here.
So I've always been empathic, But, as past influences and situations that I had experienced as a young child and as a young adult kind of helped me put up a wall, because trying to protect myself. But when I moved here and then starting acupuncture school, where you're literally putting needles in your meridians to move energy, and you're having it done by other students that don't know what they're doing, because we're all learning at the same time, and starting to shift energy in my own body and going, it's not necessarily probably going where it needed to per se by the book, but it was needed for me in my journey. It literally just opened up this huge portal. I mean, it was so uncomfortable to even leave my house because I could feel everything. Traffic was really challenging for me, just because it's a place where you feel a lot of intensity when you're on the road. And then going to school where all of us students were doing the same thing. Like, we were moving each other's energies and places, and so it was really uncomfortable. For 18 months, I probably cried every day, because that was just a great energy release. I remember my husband would come home and I'd be crying, and he'd be like, I'll just hold you. And I'm like, good, because that's all we can do. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's happening. But the heightened sensitivity, it kind of ran me over, to be honest. So I did go into hermit mode outside of school, just for self-preservation and discovery. But it's been amazing, even though it was, again, the most challenging thing I've ever done. When you're hearing and seeing and feeling things that you have never experienced before. Just kind of trying to decide where it fits, I guess, is the biggest challenge.
Did you come up with any tools that helped you with traffic and energy?
Oh, that's a great question, because that's really where I started discovering all of the amazing tools that are out there. Crystals, energy work, meditation, essential. I've always been into essential oils, but patchouli oil was my friend. That solid, grounded oil to keep me in my body, because my spirit literally would try to leave me a couple times. So energy work, massage, acupuncture, all of the modalities out there. Reaching out to intuitives to help me get clarity of what this journey is taking me down.
Awesome. Well, I know there are people that are having, that are experiencing those same things. Energy, crowds, can't be, I have students today that can't be in a large classroom, that energy is really tough, and that really puts blocks and obstacles for them to even working or having a regular life, totally. Right? Because it is just too hard to go outside of your house. And I don't think we're meant to hibernate. We've got to have tools to be able to come out and experience things without that fear of energy and overwhelmness. So
yeah, and that's where I just did. I let Spirit, again, because my original quest and ask of Spirit was to show me the signs and bring me my teachers. They always bring me my teachers at the right time, and I just continue to trust and follow that guidance. And every mentor and teacher that's entered my life has been at the right divine timing with what I needed at the time.
Awesome.
Well, tell us about some of your teachers who showed up for you at the right time. That's always a fascinating story.
I know. So my very first teacher was a massage therapist back home. And this is the fun thing that I've always witnessed is every teacher that's entered my life gives me exactly what I need to grow, but it's a reciprocation. It's a balance. Our time of working together is, and it's the same for me when I work with clients. I learn just as much as they learn. So my first teacher is a massage therapist, and she had actually kind of been refusing her other gifts of empath mediumship until she put her hands on me, and oh crap. She was my, I say conduit to help me open up, and it reminded her of that gift that she had been kind of pushing away because of where we live in a small town. And so she refound and rediscovered that gift. And then a lot of acupuncturists, teachers, those were a lot of mentors that were like, this is your path, this is your journey. An interesting piece of it, my journey, is I couldn't really find someone that had been where I was, because I was going so fast in like pulling away all the layers. But each and every one of them just kind of held safe space for me, and helped me remember myself. So that's my favorite thing is I think all of us healers, it's our journey, or I feel like our gift is, it's not for us to heal or do the work, it's just to help them find it in themselves and open up their own connection to be their own vessel of healing and journey.
Yeah, I think the most important thing when you find a teacher and they come into your life is, number one, to realize that this may be a temporary arrangement. You may get what you need. But number two is, if the teacher is of the mindset of something like, this is it, this is exactly how it is, this is the only way to think about it, and as long as I know you, you're going to be under my control, it's time to find somebody else.
Absolutely.
Because so much of what comes through the spiritual plane, yeah, we all see the same thing in 5 or 6 dimensions, but our subconscious reinterprets it different ways because we all have different models and metaphors. And for somebody else to say dogmatically, this is how you should see it, this is how you should think about it, it's time to rethink your relationship with that teacher. That's not the right person for you.
I would agree. Spirit's been very clear that we're just here as a vessel, and a conduit to bring the message through and allow them to receive it and have it resonate how it's supposed to resonate for them, and then let them take it and go with it. It is what it is until it isn't, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, this is a good point to take a little break. You have some messages about offerings at DYSG, so join us in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Violet Rain, Master and Teacher of Sacred Priesthood in the Mystery Schools here at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. This is a program that I offer about once a year. We take on students to start this program. It's an 18-month program, which means there are 13 classes. We teach a class once a month, and we skip months with holidays. And on this path, men and women can come together to become sacred priests and sacred priestesses of the Order of Melchizedek. The Order of Melchizedek is the oldest sacred priesthood on this planet. It was mentioned in the Bible and still exists today. This is about walking a path of beauty, sacredness, and service. It's about learning how to be a magical creator of your own life and using the universal mysteries to create whatever type of life that you're looking for. This path is filled with magic, about learning prosperity, about creating, about sacred geometry, about Kabbalah, about learning about the ascended masters, the archangels, the elementals, including dragons and fairies and unicorns and the mermaids. It brings all that universal wisdom together to create a way for everyone to have that joyful and abundant life that they've always wanted. I hope that you will check out our website under classes and look for Mystery School or look for Sacred Priesthood and find out more about these classes and what we have to offer. I look forward to seeing you in class, and I hope to see you really soon at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts.
Well, welcome back to DYSG Live with Dave, Jason, and Violet, and our guest, Danielle Golie. We're talking about all her great experiences on how she's grown and really moved forward so she can help other people. So,
share with us some of the programs you offer, because you did a class at the center a long time ago on prosperity, wasn't it? Connecting and manifesting.
Yes, but mostly I really love to help with purpose clarity. And it's really evolved to, it's not just what, quote, is my purpose. It's more about living purposefully, understanding who you are, but then using that and making purposeful choices, intentional choices. So my program's called Passport to Purpose. Again, so I love the journey. It's about the journey. It's not the destination, right? It's all the journey. So taking clients on a journey of self-discovery, of who they are, how they're here to serve, and having the confidence and clarity to do that. Because that's, again, my personal journey is when I was like, well, who am I? What am I supposed to do next? So Passport to Purpose is one-on-one coaching, but also I offer it in group coaching because, again, I'm so committed to offering tribe. When we are in a group that, again, is on a similar journey, the transformation and the transition is so much faster and easier. And then I also do Akashic Record healings or readings. That's a piece of it, right? Is not just doing the tangible discovery, but also going into our soul and understanding those past influences, those contracts, those agreements that can keep showing up in patterns in our lives that we no longer want to continue with.
So how do we know when we're not living purposefully?
Well,
how do we connect with that?
Well, there's a lot of different things that can be a sign. Depression, anxiety, feeling stuck, anger, frustration, all of those emotions that you're just like, you're not feeling like you're in flow. I always say that we have a soul's calling, and it's usually our higher self or our soul that's saying, there's something, maybe you should look at this or this. And a lot of times if we're not doing that, that's when we have body breakdown. We have dis-ease that turns into disease. So there's all sorts of it looks different for each person.
And how it comes in?
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. I always tell people it's about that flow.
Mm-hmm.
Is it easy or is it hard?
Yeah.
And if it's hard, why is it hard? What's making it difficult? Is it just timing, that it needs some time? Or is you're going in the wrong direction?
Right. Are you causing resistance, or are you self-sabotaging, right? I mean, you could be on the right path. I do believe we're all on the right path to some extent. It's just, is it the path you want to be on? I mean, we are the conscious creators of our own destiny, and we get to choose our purpose. We have chosen our purpose, and we can continue on the path of least resistance, like we talked about, or we can choose the path that will bring us the most fulfillment.
Well, I've had clients that I've told, you've created this, and they have a really hard time seeing that. Have you ever had clients like that, Dave?
Oh, no, not at all.
That we're creators. Like they don't see that. They don't understand that they're creating their reality, and they've kind of gotten stuck on the hamster wheel, and they recreate it in these cycles that they can't seem to get out of.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of the work of doing that self-discovery of our past programming and conditionings, our beliefs that are running. I always like to kind of use the metaphor of it's like a computer virus. It's stuck in our subconscious that just keeps running, and you don't know it's there, or you might suspect it's there, but you don't understand why it keeps kind of jacking with things. But you have to become aware of that. So a lot of healing happens when people just start to do belief work. It's all mindset. It really is mindset, and understanding what is in our mind that is keeping us in a position that we're not wanting to be in anymore, and identifying it and then making conscious decision to change.
I love that. Well, I know you work with women's circles, and the guys are here going, great. But I do think in today's time that women need a lot of support. There's been a lot that's happened. Not that men don't need support.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that whatsoever. But these guys need support as well.
What you can't see is that we're embracing Dave in a big hug right now.
Oh, thank you.
But there has, I know for me, trying to, what I call work in a man's world with a man's thought process. I mean, I lost myself there.
Absolutely.
I lost who I was. I think it's important. I see that today, that to be a strong woman doesn't mean that you have to be ugly to people. You can have strength within nurturing. You can have strength within compassion. You can have strength within acceptance. But there's somewhere along the line where we got these beliefs that we couldn't be that.
Absolutely. It's cool that you bring that up, because that's really where Spirit is having me really support myself, but also the women I work with. It's really about balancing our masculine and feminine energy. Again, back into Chinese medicine, you have yin and yang, light, dark. It's all within each of us. And so yin and yang is the representation of masculine and feminine energy. And women have, for a while now, have been in such a strong toxic masculine energy because we have felt like that's what we needed to do it all. Be a mom, be a career woman, whatever they're wanting to strive for. Energetically, there's just a lot of toxic masculine all around. So it is about bringing that balance back into each of us, men and women. A lot of people are talking about the divine feminine rising, and it is, but it's not just in women, it's in men as well. And so, yes, I do a lot of work with women, and I find that when you think about, again, tribes, we have the matriarchal, where the women would say, we need trees, and then they would let the men know we need trees, and the men are amazing. They're like, all right, I'm going to go get trees. And then the women would be like, we don't need any more trees, we're good, but we need fish. And the men would be like, awesome, I want to go get fish. But bringing that balance back into not just our individual, we have to start with ourselves, right? If you're mostly feminine, then allowing yourself to be feminine, but not forsaking the masculine. And if you're more masculine, then it's about being more masculine, but not forsaking the feminine. So we're finding that we've all kind of forgotten who we are, and that we are a blend of both, masculine and feminine. And then in a relationship, if you're two partners, knowing that you have both blends and allowing both of that to just flow. And that's what I love to really support women in, is understanding that they have both, and that they're a blend, and that they're whole, having both, and what that looks like. Because as women, we've forsaken our feminine, which is our intuition, our creativity, our collaboration, our nurturing, right? To think that we have action of masculine is the goal setting, the taking the action. We need both. We all need both, or else we aren't going to create the reality that we want. You can't sit in intuition all the time and never take masculine energy of action. I could sit there all day long and dream about it, but if I never do anything tangible in the physical, it's not going to create. So that's really helping my clients. Again, that's living purposefully, understanding who you are as a soul, what you came here to offer, doing that self-discovery, but then also taking those tangible steps forward, being brave, being courageous, and going for it, but embodying both energies.
I think it's important. I think we lost it. I know I lost mine for a long time because I believed I couldn't cry.
Mm-hmm. Oh, me too.
Couldn't shed tears. It showed weakness.
Absolutely.
Right? To cry or to connect or to feel. It was showed a weakness, and that's my navigation system. That's my
Absolutely.
tour guide. So if I shut it off, I'm not connected,
Absolutely.
right? And so now I cry all the time.
Me too.
I cry in classes. I cry with people. I cry all the time. But I think that's healthy, right?
It is healthy.
And I think we shut it off and we don't have that. But I know as a woman, I held the masculine role for years and years and years and shut everything off on the other side, which meant I didn't have my intuition. I didn't have my navigation system.
Absolutely.
And there comes balance. You have to have balance and flow of both, and I agree.
Absolutely.
Agree
I mean,
with that.
Same with me. I was so shut off. I couldn't cry either. I mean, here's a perfect example. I found my mother deceased, and I couldn't cry. I was so programmed to always have a smile on my face, and I'm going to cry, you know. So you're right, when you start to open that up, but crying is also moving energy. We are so stuck. We are living in a society where we are so sick physically, emotionally, and mentally, because we're not allowing ourselves to feel the emotions. I always thought I had to be happy, and that I wasn't allowed to be sad or feel grief or anger. Women aren't allowed to feel anger in society where men, that's the only emotion you're given permission to feel, you know, and we're doing ourselves a disservice energetically, emotionally, and physically by not allowing ourselves to feel the full array. Now that I'm allowing myself to feel sadness, I know what true joy feels like, because I see the yin and the yang, the light and the dark. But I had to go into that darkness so I could truly understand what the light was.
Well, when I work with a lot of, in this business, the vast majority of your clients are women, and one of the things I try to help them understand is, okay, yes, we want you to be out there in the world, but we want you to be assertive, but not aggressive, and that's been a really hard balance to find, where you can stand up for yourself, you can have a calm and reasonable expectation of reaching your goals in situations without having to resort to being viewed as, getting the B word applied to you.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a major shift over the past few years, is trying to help women, find that. It's okay to go out there and ask for what you need. When you're negotiating for a car, it's okay to say, no, you aren't going to switch cars on me. You're not going to play games with the options. This is my list.
Yeah.
Meet my list.
I mean, I don't know about other women. I from what I understand and hear is we've been programmed to be the nice girl, right? Mm-hmm. Again, be nice, but do what we need you to do. And so that's hard. There's that rift between being assertive, right? Because it's been perceived as being aggressive, right? There's a lot of negative words out there that we can call each other, women particularly, right? Because they're being aggressive. Or is it aggressive? Or is it just standing and saying, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I deserve to have that? We can do that in a way that is in authenticity as a woman, as a man as well, right? Because there's also things that are said negatively about men that sometimes we'll step back and say, you're right, this is more for the collective. I'm not going to, you could be called a pushover, or, there's a lot of negative words we can call each other. But it's about being authentic to who we are and our desires and our needs. We all have needs. That's one of the things that I love to help people in collective group, is to identify their needs and be willing to share it. Because in my past career, as the lead local health official, I brought the community together for a needs assessment and strategic planning for the health of the community. And everybody at the table has, for lack of a better word, a hidden agenda, because we all have a need. We all need to get something out of some kind of partnership or collaboration, and that's okay. We have to be open and willing to share that so we all can work together and be supportive and fulfilled for the work that we're offering in the world. Some people say that, again, hidden agendas is a negative thing. You shouldn't show what you're there for. Again, we can't have true connection and intimacy with anybody, even an intimate partner, if you're not open and saying, this is what I need and want out of this relationship. Because this is what my heart needs. This is who I am authentically. So it's just that balance again. And that's living purposefully in my mind.
I learned that real young. My first job out of grad school, I worked at General Motors at their proving grounds where they test cars and they do improvements on cars. And I very quickly learned that it was just a tremendous ass-kissing organization. And I was too honest and upfront and speaking my mind. I was not going to fit. And I got out of there in a little less than 2 years.
Yep.
And there's no place for Dave.
Yep.
I'm not going to fit here. I'm not going to be happy. And they're not going to be happy with me.
Yeah.
I'm not playing the game.
Sounds like a lot of corporate
Yeah. Well, and I saw the problems
energy,
there.
I guess.
Yeah, that was back in 1978, and I saw systemically the problems there that ultimately we saw a few years ago when they went bankrupt. It was that corporate mindset that is just pervasive in that company.
Yeah, and people are really starting to wake up from that, and they're feeling dissatisfied, right? Yeah. People want to feel like they're a part of a bigger purpose, a bigger mission, and included, right? Not that we can include everybody in every decision making when you're in a business or a corporation, but they just want to know that their contribution is appreciated.
Yeah.
Right? And so I'm just super passionate about working with women to allow them to identify what that is for them, what does fulfill them, what do they want to contribute, and then being confident enough to say, where I'm at right now is working for me, or maybe it's not, and gain that confidence to be brave, to take those actions that are in their highest good. And Vialet, you're so right. Our circles change, our friends, our families, and that is a tricky thing to navigate, but it's again so fulfilling.
It's hard. It's hard for people, right? And I find that people have a hard time knowing what their heart wants, right? To really, that's hard for people to. We talk about authentic self and stepping in to be your authentic self, but it's not easy for everyone to do that. That takes really taking a deep, hard look within, and some people have a hard time doing that. But the rewards of really being able to do that and speak your truth, not in a mean way, but in a compassionate, understanding, loving way, is hard for a lot of people, and I understand that. And it's a growth opportunity that all of us can have of speaking our truth. I think we've been in a world where we haven't done that, and so we don't think we should do that, and it prevents us from moving forward in a lot of ways.
It does, and that's exactly what I support women with Passport to Purpose, is really that whole transition of tapping back into their higher self, their intuition. What are their gifts or talents? What are the limiting beliefs, past influences that have been keeping them in those patterns that they're not comfortable in anymore because they're not serving them? And then really taking the action towards creating that purposeful life for themselves. Because you're right, it's not easy, but it can be so much easier when you have a blueprint and you have someone that can walk alongside of you on the journey.
Yeah, very true. So talk to us about what you offer, what's coming up, what are some of the things that you're doing that people can connect with you, and how can people reach out and connect with you?
Oh, well, you can reach out and connect to me at any time if you want to just have a conversation about what are your goals, what next steps, and see if Passport to Purpose is a right fit. But I also do Increase Your Intuition intensives in my Facebook group, the HiVibe Tribe. So the HiVibe Tribe is for all spiritually driven women who are really wanting to discover their truth, embrace their calling, and fulfill their soul's purpose. So they can find me on Facebook with, again, the HiVibe Tribe. And then, again, individually, I do individual Akashic record readings to take that even a step further, to identify what is in their highest power and their highest need, and clear what's no longer serving them.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, thanks for coming today, and thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah. I would like just also offer, I do have 5 ways to balance your masculine and feminine energy and fuel your purpose PDF that we can somehow give a link to. Again, it's about starting just integrating that ebb and flow of both of our energies that are inside of each of us to be able to take action, creativity, and you can use it in your life, your career, and relationships. So
awesome. Well, send that to me. We'll make sure it gets on here, and we'll do it in the group when we share the radio show in the notes. So, yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for sharing a little bit of you with us today. I'm so glad that we were able to schedule this.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for the community you've created here. And just, again, to everybody that's willing to take the courageous jump, because as we all know, sitting here, so it's not always easy, but
it's
again,
that first step.
It is that first step. And again, find tribe and someone that they can walk along on the journey along with.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, to all our listeners, thank you for listening today, and please continue listening. We're going to have several messages from some of our other practitioners here at DYSG, and they're very informative.
Hi, my name is Heather Nichols. I'm a soul journey coach and the owner of Soulful Essence and Wellbeing. For the past several years, I've been on a quest to fulfill my soul purpose of healing my past so I may learn to love myself unconditionally. I want to show others how they can do the same thing for themselves. My journey officially began in 2015. I became a Reiki master teacher to be a conduit of healing for myself and others. And I've always had an interest in hypnosis and self-development. And I finally stepped forward in my passion and found a program that helped me release negative emotions that were keeping me stuck in my past. I became a certified practitioner in this wonderful program and later studied Akashic records and many other healing modalities. I'm beginning my new class series starting in March, and this class is for people who are ready to release emotional trauma and blocks from their past. This can be from past lives or this life. During this class, we'll explore what impact anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt has in our lives, how we react to people and situations because of our state of mind, why it's important to forgive ourselves and others. Then it's time to release. And we'll use time techniques to release anger and sadness, a guided meditation to release additional negative emotions, and I'll be giving you a workbook so that you can journal about your experiences. The class schedule is from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on the following days: Saturday, March 14th, Saturday, April 11th, Sunday, May 24th, Saturday, June 13th, Sunday, July 19th, Saturday, August 15th. And you can register at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts, Facebook, Meetup, or Eventbrite, or at Soulful Essence and Wellbeing on Facebook. You can also register on my website at Soulful Essence, the letter N, wellbeing.com/classes. I look forward to seeing you in my class.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Mayer, Sistership Circle Facilitator and owner of Insight and Alchemy. I hold intentional events designed to provide transformational and soulful experiences. I serve by facilitating spiritual and tangible connection that enriches and empowers women in their expression, leadership, and lives. We have monthly sacred women's circle gatherings at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts. Each month, we focus on different themes like self-love indulgence, expanding blessings, and activating abundance. We come together to honor our authentic selves, sisterhood, and the divine. In this safe and sacred circle container, we speak our truths, embody our intentions, and create action in ceremony. Circle is a confidential and supportive space where you're invited to openly share without interruption or unwanted feedback. Instead, you are beamed with loving energy while being seen, heard, and honored for just being you. We dig deep to raise the individual and universal vibration, healing sisterhood wounds, and shifting the paradigm of competition, isolation, and fear. Each circle is unique and offers magic and medicine co-created by all the women who come together. When you join us in Circle, you receive what you are meant to receive while enriching the experience for your sisters simply by being you. Won't you join us? Check our Circle Gathering calendar and reserve your spot by visiting insightandalchemy.com, discover your spiritual gifts, or sistershipcircle.com/events for circles being offered in Colorado and around the world. Connect with me in Circle or contact me at tiffany@insightandalchemy.com to learn more about our monthly circles or schedule a private gathering. Blessings.
Angels are loving messengers and guardians, helping us find our way on our life mission and protecting us on the journey. Are you seeking an angelic perspective of yourself or situation? Ruby Wayward is an angel intuitive, using her intuition, angel tarot, and oracle cards to provide angelic perspective readings. Learn which angels are helping you or wanting to work with you, and gain insight from your guardian angels. Ruby not only works with angels, but with other mystic manifestors, messengers, and elementals like the dragons, unicorns, and fairies. Ruby can connect with you to your personal dragon, channel messages from your unicorn, and guide you in best practices with the fairies. Find Ruby Wayward as a reader at Discover Your Spiritual Gifts every second Sunday of the month. Walk-ins are welcome, or call Discover Your Spiritual Gifts at 720-573-4275 to set up an appointment.
Discover connection, awaken sacredness, become empowered. Join us for our show on Blog Talk Radio.